Okay, let's dive right into the world of Fire Force, where, get this, anyone at any moment can just spontaneously burst into flames. We're going to break down the rules of this terrifying, burning world.
So here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll set the scene in this pretty terrifying world. Then we'll get into the power system, which is super cool. After that, we'll introduce a godlike flame, meet the key players who can actually wield it, and finally, uncover the villain's absolutely insane, world-ending plan.
All right, first things first, let's talk about that terrifying premise. What it's like to live in a world where you're under the constant threat of turning into a walking, mindless inferno. So, this whole phenomena is called spontaneous human combustion, and it is the central horror of this world. You gotta understand, about 250 years ago, a massive event called the Great Cataclysm basically torched the entire globe. What we're seeing now is what's left of civilization, rebuilt from the ashes in the area that was once Tokyo.
Now, when a person combusts, they become what's called an infernal. As you can see, they're transformed into these mindless walking fire monsters that are in a state of constant pain. It's really tragic. These beings are considered the first generation of pyrokinetics, and to fight them, the city relies on a very, very special group of heroes.
And that group is the Special Fire Force. There are 8 companies in total, and their main job is to fight Infernals and, as they call it, put them to rest. But they're also trying to figure out what's causing all of this in the first place. But the Fire Force isn't one big happy family. Oh no. It's this weird mix of a fire department, a military unit, and even a religious order. And each of the 8 companies has its own allegiances and its own secrets.
Okay, so to fight these Infernals, you obviously need people who can control fire themselves. And that brings us to the really unique power system in this world, the generations of pyrokinesis.
Now, what's really cool about this is how it clearly separates the 3 main types of pyrokinetics. So, the first generation, they're the victims, the Infernals themselves. Then you've got the second generation, like Company 8's Mafiosi, they're manipulators. They can't create fire on their own, but they are absolute masters at controlling any existing flame around them. And then there's the third generation, the igniters, like our main character Shinra Kusakabe. These guys can generate fire right from their own bodies. The trade-off, though, is that they can't control flames from any other source.
So we have fire controllers and fire creators, right? But what happens when a fire is so ridiculously powerful it just breaks the laws of physics? And this question right here, it leads us to a power source that is both, well, divine and absolutely terrifying.
The answer is something called the Adola burst. Now, as the slide says, this isn't just a stronger flame. No way. It's a pure divine fire from a whole other dimension called Adola. The best way to think of Adola is like the collective unconscious of all humanity, a world made of thoughts and concepts. And if you can tap into it, you can literally impose your will on reality, bending the laws of physics. This is a reality-warping power that puts certain people on a whole different level.
And the few individuals who actually have this Adola burst, they're known as the Pillars. And they are the absolute key to the world's salvation or its complete and utter destruction.
There are exactly 8 of them, no more, no less. Each pillar is like a living, breathing connection to that Adola dimension, and each one is tied to a powerful human emotion. Think rage, fear, or despair. This emotional link is actually what fuels their power and pretty much decides their role in this whole cosmic drama.
And wouldn't you know it, our protagonist Shinra Kusakabe just happens to be the 4th pillar. He's driven by this need to be a hero, which all stems from a really tragic past where he was blamed for the very fire that killed his entire family.
So, this is the really crucial part. His unique ability, those devil's footprints that let him fly around and move at insane speeds, that's all powered by the Adola burst. He represents the emotion of rage, and his entire life has been shaped by this horrible lie that he killed his mother and his baby brother's show 12 years ago. And that nervous grin that got him labeled a devil, yeah, it's all connected.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates how diverse the pillars are. They are not all warriors, like Shinra. On one side, you have the 8th pillar, Sister Iris. She represents despair and purity. She's this gentle nun who, it turns out, is a doppelganger created in some secret experiment. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the 7th pillar, Sumira. She represents disgust and knowledge, and she's an amoral 200-year-old scientist who actually engineered the whole spontaneous human combustion phenomenon to begin with.
Because of their immense power, the Pillars are basically the most sought-after people in the world. And this chart, It shows you the score in a massive shadow war for control of them. The villains, the white-clad, they have a clear advantage. They've either converted or captured key pillars, including the first pillar, a woman who embodies hope, and even Shinra's own long-lost brother, Sho, who has this terrifying power over the universe's temperature.
So why? Why are they doing all this? Well, that brings us to the villain's endgame, a plan that ties everything, the Infernals, the Adola Burst, and the Pillars, all together.
The mastermind behind it all is the Evangelist, a mysterious, godlike being from that Adola dimension who leads a doomsday cult called the White-Clad. And this being has been pulling strings and manipulating humanity for centuries, all to achieve one single horrifying goal.
And here it is, that horrifying goal, laid out plain and simple. The Evangelist plan is a clear, multi-step process to end the world. Step 1. Create artificial Infernals just to find people who are compatible with the Adola Burst, the Pillars. Step 2. Gather all 8 of them. Step 3. Sacrifice them to trigger a second Great Cataclysm. This will engulf the entire planet in flames and, finally, transform Earth into a second sun.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question at the heart of Fire Force. It's really a story about perception versus destiny and the fight for hope in a world that's already